Okay. So, this first one is very different than all of the other ones that we're going to do today. So I'd like you to read that a second. It's a lot of blah, blah, blah. All of it necessary, though. So when you start looking at this, how many totals do you have?
3.
Sven, what's the 3 totals?
10, 20, and 60.
No, those are not totals.
Oh. I don't know.
How many totals are there? 2. There's 2.
2.
2 totals. What's one of them?
240.
Yep. And then what's the other one?
440.
Okay, so I'm plugging my calculators and write this down. So if you have this is written differently. It's not set up like some of the other ones that we've done, which is one reason that we're talking about this. We've got this total here of, for example, 248. The other total is 440. Okay, and when you go, I don't know what goes with what. It's kind of confusing. This is why we go back to when we talked about story problems, we talked about the units matter. This is 248 cubic feet. Therefore, all of the coefficients out here need to be cubic feet. Okay, and you guys, to make life easy, let's go B and L and W. Okay, X, Y, Z just makes my head hurt. I don't want to do it. Okay, so if 248 is cubic feet, you don't have to put that there. I'm just put it there so we remember. What's the coefficient then of the B? 8, because it says that the bedroom model is 8 cubic feet. So 8B. Okay, I want you to see if you get the rest of it for me. The whole rest of it. Okay, what's the next? What's the next rest of it? Oh, thanks a lot. Nothing like second, third thoughts there. Thanks a lot. Peer pressure.
Yeah, he's good. Are you gonna go?
I don't know. Depends what day it is. If I have other ones I'm doing, if I'm not busy. What's the rest of this one?
8L.
8L and
28W.
28W. Okay. Now, this 440 pounds, which therefore tells us that the coefficients in this one need to be pounds. So what's the equation part of this? 10B. 20L. Okay. Now, here's the problem. There's no more numbers in there. So what's the third equation?
Magic.
There isn't one. So what we know about this is it potentially will come up as infinitely many solutions. So what I'd like you to do is pop that in your matrix and see what happens.
I forgot where to find the RE.
It's in the matrix menu, but in math. So to the right and go to the math.
Miss Douglas,
Yeah.
does my total need to be the right column, or can my total be?
It has to be the right one.
Okay, so I should have written it.
Like, nope. So all variables on one side, all the things that are the equals on the right. And I'll just ask, it has to be on the right. You can't put it on the left.
Just making sure. I put that on front.
Okay, what do you get out of this? What's the top row? I know it's 1.
0, 0, 1, 18.
1, 18. Okay, what's the next one?
0,
Okay. So, it does not say infinitely many solutions, but when we put this back into a system, which is what I told you to do on Friday, we end up with B plus W equals 18, and then L plus 2.5W is equal to 13. Okay, now we already can tell that this is infinitely many solutions because W is hanging around in everybody else's equation. Okay, so we're going to magic up that T, and we get B equals what? 18 minus T. Okay, and then we have L. L equals what? Yep, 13 minus 2.5 T, and W is equal to T. Now, I want you to think about this just a second. Like, I know the T is weird, but let's put it in terms of we're talking about packing up a delivery van. Doesn't it make sense that everything would have to depend on the biggest one? Right? If I'm going to pack something efficiently, however much of the biggest one that I can put in there is going to determine how many of the smaller ones I can put around it. So that's what you're looking at. Well, it just kind of says like, hey, the biggest one is T and everything else depends on that. So we said there are infinitely many solutions. So numerically speaking, if we just look at numbers, there are infinitely many solutions. There are not infinitely many solutions to our problem though. Why?
Because it's a limited space.
It's a limited space, right? At some point in time, I can't have 10 W's because I'm over in space, right? So there's a limit. So we are actually going to find out that even though it's infinitely many according to the numbers, it's not according to the story problem. So let's actually figure out the solutions. So the first, what's the lowest value the W could be? 0. So if you have 0, so that's 0 whole house ones. I'm not writing out whole house. If I have 0 of those, how many B's can I do? 18 B's. And how many L's? 13. Okay. Now, we're going to use your brain a second. What's the next number I could pick for my, this by the way was T equals 0. What's the next number I can pick for T? Why not 1? Correct. It has to be 2 because you can't take off half of a humidifier. So you got to put a 2 in there. So that means it could be 2 whole house ones. That means B would be what? 16. And then how many else can you get? 8. Yep. Okay. What's the next one we could do? 4. Again, because you can't do 3 because that's going to be leaving with a decimal. So if it's 4, then that's 4 whole house. How many bedroom ones? 14. And then how many living room ones? 3. Now, what's the next one I can do? Okay. If you do 6, okay, that's 6 of these. It's 8 of these. 12 of these. How many of these? Pause. Can't do that. So there really are only, if you're going to operate your company in the most efficient way possible and not send out a van that's not fully loaded, there are only 3 possibilities for you.
We don't have to actually do that stuff though, right?
No, but I want you to see what it looks like. Like there's a real life problem that comes out with infinitely many that actually limits it down.
Wait, so we just like plug it in for each of the ones. That's how they're getting this. Okay.
Yeah, so it all depends on T, right? And so I just plugged T in for each of those. And then I can't go negative on the T's because you can't have negative whole house models. So there's only 3 possibles.
We got distracted by the L in front of the 13 and the 8.
Oh, because it's backwards of the rest of them. Okay, we are going to take a look at a couple of these. we are not going to, let me show this going on. We're not going to actually solve all of these, and we're not going to do all of them. But I want to talk you through some of the weird things that you might see.
Is this for Colbert?
Nope.
I feel like I remember.
Welcome. So the first thing we're going to do is look at number 1.
Please. Thank you.
So what I would recommend on these, I would recommend before you do anything else, I would recommend looking for the totals. So when I read something like this, I skim for the totals. It makes life easier.
$10,000.
Yep, that's a total. There's another total in there. Yep. Okay, so you guys, you may feel free to use whatever variables you want. I'm going F, B, and insurance company. So we're going FBI. Ooh. So if the first total you guys said was 10,000, whoops, 830. Let me say this also. If you're like, I don't even know what those variables mean, look at it. This is a hint. How much did she borrow from each source? So we're looking for a monetary amount that she's borrowing from each of these pieces, which should help you out. Oh, like F is going to represent money. B is going to represent money. I is going to represent money. That, if you think that, it helps you figure out that first equation. Then what's the first equation? Oh, it's just, yeah. Or in my case, F plus B plus I. It's just money, you guys. Okay. Now, this is money, right? This has to do with interest. So, what do you think is the coefficient of the F then in the next equation? Yeah, 0.08. 0.08, because whatever she borrows from her friend, she's paying 8% on. So you got to have 0.08. Okay, what's the next one for the bank? 0.09. And then what's the last one? Yeah, 0.05. Okay, so do you see this one? Money is here. This is money, money, money. This is interest, also money, but this is a percent of the dollar amount, a percent of the dollar amount, and a percent of the dollar amount gives you the total interest. Now, this is why we did that practice on our warm up. Okay, here's the last equation. It says she borrowed some from her friend and twice as much as that from her bank. So she borrows from her friend and she borrows twice as much from the bank. Listen, don't make the bars if you don't want them, but you got to be able to write the equation right. So what am I going to do, or what would my equation be? 2F equals B. Now, this speaks to what I'm going to say next. Goes with Macy and Emma's question from earlier, which you guys probably didn't hear. I cannot have this in a matrix. 2F equals B isn't going to work. F and B both need to be on the left side of the equal sign. So what do you need to do? You got to subtract. So 2F minus B is equal to what? Yeah, because that's going to be 0 over there. There's what you would put into your matrix. Yeah, but we're not going to do that part. Okay, pop down to number 4. See if you can come up with the 3 equations. Okay, we're skipping 2 and 3. There are 3 equations.
But you only choose their totals.
Order number 4, right? Okay, let's make sure I said that. There are 3. Okay, so question for you on this one. How many totals do you see? There's only one. Okay, so if you see only one total, that is a pretty good indication that the other 2 are comparison statements. Okay, so what's the first equation? This should be the one that you're like, yep, I can write this one. Nope. Nope. Okay, so question. Why does it have to have those? Because the total is money. Yep. So if you just do n plus d plus q, all you're saying is this is my total number of coins. You can't have 7.95 coins because you gotta have a whole number of coins. Okay. Now, if you're tuning out, I mean, this is where you should tune back in. Okay. The number of nickels and dimes together is 1 less than the number of quarters. So if you were going to draw bars, or not, I don't care. What will go in this bar if it's nickels and dimes together? Yeah, right? That makes logical sense there. We're comparing that with the number of quarters. What are you going to do? Okay, this is where I want you to make sure you're listening. Okay, this is n plus d plus 1 equals q. Cannot put this in a matrix. What do I need to do? I got to move the q to the left and I got to move the 1 to the right. Okay, now listen to me also carefully. You could, if you wanted to, move the n and the d to the right. Doesn't matter. So you would have completely the opposite in your equation. It will work out just fine. Okay, I'm going to subtract my q though, and then subtract the 1. So I have n plus d minus q equals -1. Super important that if you have a constant, okay, if you have a constant number in there that's hanging around with no variable, he's the one that has to be on the right. If you're like this, and I'll tell you why I'm telling you this, like people in past years, they're dividing because they're like, you told me the 2 had to be by itself. The 2 is a coefficient. It goes on the left. A total, a constant like this guy is on the right. Okay, so you can have coefficients with your numbers. How about the last one? 0.05n. Okay, now, here's my question. Ezra has in here 0.05n. Is it 0.05 and the 0.1? Why is that necessary? Because it says the value, right? It says the value of the nickels. It's monetary value. So like when you do this, the temptation is to go, oh, nickels is 30 cents less than the value of the dime. So like this, and you're going to add the 0.3, but you won't get the right answer because it's the monetary value. So this has to be all switched around then. Maybe I want to just illustrate what I was saying earlier. You could be like, hey, I really only want to move one thing. So I have 0.1d minus 0.05n. If you put that into your matrix, make sure that you put negative 0.05n, positive 0.1d, and then this would be 0.3. Or rearrange it the other way. So you have 0.05n minus 0.1d equals negative 0.3. Both of these 2 things will get you the correct answer. Okay, just realize that if you're like looking at the person sitting next to you, your equations can be different. They are direct opposites though, right? These guys are opposites of each other. So if you're comparing, you have different things. As long as they're opposites, you're going to be fine. Okay, why don't you try number 5, please? And this time I'm going to let you do all 3 without me yapping at you. don't have to solve it, so just read the equations this time. What's your first equation?
G plus R plus N plus 140.
You guys agree or disagree? Do you have that somewhere?
I agree.
Okay. What's the next one?
3G plus 4R plus 8N equals 840.
Okay, so question. So what I wanted to review here, one of the things. Where does the 840 come from? Because that number is nowhere in what we have. 140 times 6. Because if you just put 6 there, then you're asking for 140 pounds of trail mix that costs $6 total. So those numbers on the right side have to be the total. So you have to multiply the 6 times the 840. Okay? There's twice as much granola as raisins.
So it's G minus G1.
Because these ones, if it says twice as much or half as much, I always have to draw the picture. Because I want there to be twice as much granola as raisins. So what do I need to do with this guy? Yeah, times 2. Or half of G. Half of G equals R. So G equals 2R. Okay? Remember, move the whole thing over. So subtract the 2R from both sides. So I've got G minus 2R equals 0. Okay, last one, number 6. This is the last one we're going to write, and then I'll give you your homework. So you'll have 15 minutes or more to do your homework. Six. 7's only 2 numbers, only 2.
I know the last one. You come to the track meet tonight?
Is that home?
Yeah,
Nice.
it's the last home game.
Is that the only meet you have this week?
No, regional is on Saturday.
On Saturday.
I think I have regionals Thursday.
You do. You're
We
gone all
must
day
leave at like
Thursday.
6 or something.
It's terrible. I do know that it's that Thursday you have regionals, so I know. I didn't write it on there because you're not even dismissed.
Yeah,
It's-
it used to be
you're-
7
What do you
Friday,
think?
Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know. It's freaking out about that. Yeah,
Okay, what's one of your equations?
plus D plus Q, 46.
Yep. Because that's not monetary value, it's just how many coins. Okay, what else we got?
Tell me.
Yeah.
Point 1 0 D.
Yeah.
0.252
Yeah.
equals 7.
Okay. So there are 2 more dimes and nickels. Okay, 2 more dimes than nickels. So what's your equation?
2 minus
Oh, crap.
D equals 0.
Okay. So 2 more dimes, just in case you're a visual, 2 more dimes than there are nickels. So we got to add 2 to the nickels to make them the same.
Oh, I did that.
Or subtract D minus 2, either way. So N plus 2 is equal to D. Remember to move them around. So I'm going to subtract the D. I wouldn't do this in real life. I would do it the other way, but that's okay. N minus D is equal to negative 2. There would be your other equation. Okay, so be careful on these guys, on the comparison ones. 2 more dimes than nickels. If you need to, draw the picture, draw the picture. Especially get yourself in the habit of that so that when it does come time for a test or quiz, you know what you're doing. So you have 7 questions on your homework. Sorry.